Thank you. Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone and call this regular meeting of the Loveland Board of Education to order at 6:05 Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone and I'd like to ask Mr. Hawley for a regular meeting of the Loveland Board of Education to order at 6:05 p.m. And I'd like to ask Mr. Hawley for a roll
Ms.
call.
Pettit?
Here.
Mr. Jarvis, Mr. Fortune?
Here.
Please mark
Mrs.
Mr. Jarvis
Washburn?
as absent. So we have
Dr.
4
Brown?
members present.
Ms. Pettit?
And the first item would be to
Here.
adopt
Mrs.
the
Washburn?
agenda for the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? We have 4 members present. And the first item would be to adopt the agenda for the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move.
I'll second, and
I
then
heard Mr. Fortune and then Mrs. Washburn to move into second. Is there any discussion about the agenda?
There have been no since it was published.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hawley, can we vote on that?
Dr. Brown's?
Yes.
Ms. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Fortune?
Yes.
Mrs. Washburn?
Motion carried. I would like to welcome all our guests. We have several administrative guests as part of the Zoom meeting, and then our public guests are participating via a YouTube streaming of the meeting. This is the current practice according to House Bill 197, that we are conducting the meeting online and that it is being streamed live. We are not currently archiving video based on board policy concerning closed captioning and ADA requirements, but the video is live now on YouTube, and so we welcome all our guests there. I would invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I have asked Mrs. Washburn to please, and it looks like perhaps Hannah is going to help her lead the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would like to listen to that. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Eileen and Hannah Washburn. I will note now that the board agenda is available on Board Docs. If you go in through lovelandschools.org, that's where the board agenda resides. And you will see that there are board reports listed. Those reports are in Board Docs for viewing. We will move into committee updates, but before we start committee updates, I would like to give a short communications presentation. I would like to let the board know that since our last meeting, we've received about a dozen emails. Those have mostly been concerned with communications. And so I have received a few that have asked for communication, and I have responded. I have not heard responses from all of those, but I have responded to those emails. We had a couple of emails concerning sports fees, and I believe that will be addressed in this evening's board agenda. We've had several emails with questions regarding pretty specific financial questions. Some of those may be treated in reports or resolutions this evening. Some may not be able to be treated in detail due to contractual obligations. There were some questions concerning open checkbook, and I believe that will be addressed in the treasurer's report this evening. I have also received emails regarding the dissemination of a video of an April 6th test of the electronic system for producing and conducting and recording virtual board meetings. Those board meetings are necessitated and made legal by the current pandemic and House Bill 197. The April 6th session was a test of technology conducted to be certain that all board members could access platforms, participate in such a virtual meeting, and understand all procedures needed to conduct meetings. No official board meeting was scheduled on April 6th, and no actions or votes were taken. I would like, at this time, to take the opportunity to offer a sincere apology for conversation on April 6th that included comments meant in a humorous tone, but upon examination could be seen to be an example of behavior that does not reach the level of professionalism that I strive to maintain. I do apologize for any such conversation and for any offense that was taken. I do sincerely tell you that I am sorry about that conversation. I have received one other communication today, which I will read to you. It is addressed to me and to the Loveland Board of Education. It says, it is from Mr. Art Jarvis, and it says, "It is with great regret that I submit my resignation from the Loveland City Schools Board of Education effective immediately. Believing that a school district is the heart of a community, my sole hope and desire was to help an amazing community continue to build on its successes and improve on the education of our greatest asset. Unfortunately, at this time, I believe my position on the board is a deterrent to that goal and hope that this resignation will redirect us back onto a path that provides our children with an education that allows them to excel in any endeavor they choose. While I take great pride in the successes over the past 8 years, it is important to acknowledge the incredible people who are the real drivers of this success, our teachers, administrators, and staff. These people have worked tirelessly to provide an atmosphere that allows the whole child to flourish. Whether it be academics, arts, or athletics, our children have grown immensely in a culture of care, innovation, and respect. All of you deserve our utmost respect and gratitude. After a period of healing, hard work, and communication, I have no doubt that this community will continue on its path of success. As always, I have complete faith in this community. To you and the Loveland community, I wish nothing but the best. Sincerely, Art Jarvis." I'm very sorry to have to read that letter. It came not too long ago, and I simply would like to state at this point that it is with great appreciation for the years of service for Mr. Jarvis that we receive and accept this letter. I'm hoping that in the near future there will be an opportunity to congratulate Mr. Jarvis for his service and wish him well in future endeavors. I will mention to the board that I believe regulations state that the board will do nothing concerning an open position. There's a 10-day waiting period, and then there's a 30-day period in which the board would need to appoint a representative to the board to fill Mr. Jarvis's seat. So I would suggest that the board discuss at its next meeting steps that will be taken concerning this position. But again, I thank Mr. Jarvis, I wish him well, and I am very sorry to have read that letter. That's my communication. Unless there are any questions, I would suggest that we move forward to board committee reports. Okay, I see first policy committee. There is no policy committee update, but there is a meeting scheduled. It will be a virtual meeting scheduled for May 6th. Mr. Portune, do you have anything to add to that? I think you might be muted, Mr. Portune.
I'm looking.
There you are.
Interesting. Am I here now? Sorry about that.
Yes,
Okay, that's very odd. I didn't touch anything.
it's magic.
It is magic. No, so what I was mouthing in mine there was, no, I had no additional updates for policy.
Thank you. Is there a facilities committee update?
That would be me. John addressed the attic dry system sprinkler at the LIS LMS building. He's spoken to us about replacing some of the pipe up in the attic. And he is looking to, he's working on a project to replace that pipe within the next 6 to 12 months. Down in the LES, the wing, the rooftop air conditioner unit, 2 of them were installed back when it was built in 1995. Engineering work is being completed and is estimated to be about 125,000 for replacement. With cooling tower repair, reality of it is 19,000 to repair a 20-year-old piece of equipment. So he is now pursuing a project to replace the tower, and the bid package should be ready sometime in May.
Is that the report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions for Michelle?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none, is there a finance committee update?
That was me also, but I think Kevin will probably address all that tonight.
Okay, thank you. And a student experience committee meeting was held on April 21st, and their next meeting is May 11th. Is there a report from Mr. Fortuna or Mrs. Washburn?
Yeah, we can kind of tag team here, Matt, if you want.
Okay.
We heard from some of the great math leaders in the district, Todd Lighthall, Abby Beach, and Katie at school. And they have been, for the past year, looking at math curriculum, and they presented their findings to us. Because moving forward, it's always been in the plan that that's the final step in our 5-year curriculum adoption. And they presented to us the programs that they thought were best, along with their reasons why, especially because our current license is expiring and the online components will no longer be available for our current resources.
So during their presentation, they presented to us across all of the schools and the grade levels what they had been investigating through their adoption process, how each of the programs through the different schools were, added to continuity across the programs.
Vertically
Vertical alignment.
Vertical alignment, thank you. And so they were all chosen very specifically with that in mind, as well as in light of not just current environment, but an environment where remote learning is part of activities, systems, and curriculum which give you the opportunity to have immediate feedback with students. So some of the online pieces of this were very important and presented. I mean, it was a ton of very good work that they have spent the past year really investigating, knowing that our current licensing was timing out, that Pearson was not going to be supporting all of the pieces of it that we had, even if we had wanted to move forward and renew. And the good thing from a fiscal standpoint is where they were able to get with this was $90,000, which was about, I think, 22% under what had been in our budget for this curriculum. So, I mean, all of that seems to be very much of a win-win on the implementation for this. So, much more integrated program, better student feedback, better content and curriculum for the teachers, as well as significantly under the budget that we had planned. I think those are all, very good outcomes of this, and a lot of hard work across all grade levels that went into this. So that was my takeaway.
Yeah, in addition to the savings, they also got a lot of extras thrown in there as well. So it sounds like they had some good negotiating skills that they utilized. And then one of the many things that really stood out to me about the programs they selected too is that they made sure that there was a program to help some of the struggling students so they could rise up. There were some programs to help challenge students. There's just something for everybody. Then we spent some time listening to Mr. Jewell talk to us about what is being done just to help the mental health and social, emotional needs of children and families in the district. So there's some really great work going in there as well.
Yep.
Okay, great. Any questions? I think there will be opportunity to talk a little bit about the math adoption a little later when it is presented for first reading. It will not be approved this evening, but it is being presented for the first reading. If there's nothing else from board committee reports, I think we'll move to student representative reports. And I have Anna down first. Is that correct? Who's going to go first? Anna?
That's fine with me. That's good.
Is that okay?
Yes. Can everybody see and hear me all right?
Is that Anna? I can see you.
I think I'm having some issues with my Wi-Fi. I can fix them if Keller wouldn't mind going first.
Oh,
yeah. Sure.
All right, then we'll switch to Keller. There we go.
All right. So at LIS, they've been working hard to connect with all of their students during this remote learning time and making sure that all of their students' needs are met. This has been a unique way of teaching and learning for all of Loveland City School District. Both continued feedback, we are adapting to make this situation as best as possible for students and teachers. Content teams are working together to create many lesson videos and schedule Google Meet sessions for students as they work on their assignments. The Loveland Intermediate Schools Building Leadership Team is continuing to work on many projects, including a virtual tour for incoming 5th graders, virtual field day for current LIS students, virtual awards/recognitions for end of the year for current LIS students, locker clean out for current LIS students, electronic feedback from parents for class placements for incoming 5th graders. Mr. Collier would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the student body and all of the staff for their hard work during this time. There has not been a time where he has been more proud to lead such a great group of kids and staff. LMS has been having great efforts being made by the LMS staff and student body engaging in remote learning. There's been great support from LMS families engaging in remote learning. LMS is working on virtual end of the year awards and celebrations. LMS is also collaborating with staff and parents to make sure all of the LMS Tigers are being taken care of. At the high school, they have been working through tons of options and sites for graduation that align with the ODH, ODE, and governor guidelines. A full commencement exercise cannot occur within those guidelines. Dr. Krause will share the current plan for the commencement that meets guidelines and keeps our students and community safe. Difficult decisions and time for the class of 2020 and families. We are trying to honor and celebrate everything we can. Prom that was scheduled for Music Hall on May 16th is canceled. We had hoped to have a celebration picnic and dance on Tiger Turf at some point late in June, but this will most likely not be a possibility. AP testing is going to be occurring online at home. It will be only 1 to 2 free response questions. Students will have 45 minutes. It will be open note and based on less content than normal. Military virtual signing recognition will go live on social media tomorrow. Athletic spring signings were done virtually as well. Valedictorian, salutatorian, and top 10 will be recognized on May 1st with the presentation of the yard sign at their home from a safe distance. Photos will be taken and put out on social media. Senior awards will go live on social media on the original date scheduled for May 13th. Remote learning, a lot of teachers are using Google Meet classes, pre-recorded videos, live sessions, weekly plans, and office hours. Survey results with Dr. Krause. Teachers are working very hard. Students and parents seem very appreciative. Staying connected with students, LHS is reaching out regularly to the students who are struggling. Children's home services are occurring through televisits. Officer Moore helps with home visits when he's on the road as well. Some teachers are making home visits by waving from the sidewalks. Upcoming events that you might want to attend, well, these are all online, but Please watch social media for all the coverage of student activities, awards, and the moments of celebration. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keller. Now, how's it going, Anna?
I think it's better.
Okay.
Okay. So at LECC, their Tiger Cubs and LECC team has done a great job of responding to the remote learning situation that they find themselves in. As a building and as a district, we talk about being resilient, we work on real-world problem-solving skills, and we focus on being empathetic collaborators and being innovators. And COVID-19 has forced us to do all of these things and to figure out how to do them well virtually. Based on survey data and family responses, LECC is doing a good job of supporting families and ensuring learning continues remotely. The survey parent feedback from LECC is that 98% of LECC families feel supported and say that their teachers are accessible for questions and support is needed. 94% of families are satisfied with the amount of work being provided. 90% of our families are able to access the materials and resources that are provided. 95% of LECC families are happy with the amount of communication they receive from their teacher. Here are just some quotes that LECC would like to share. The teachers have been outstanding during this difficult time, easily accessible and communicative, but not overly so. We also enjoy the morning announcements. LECC has continued our expectations and will continue to do so. All of the teachers have been great for LECC. Thanks for all of your help. The principal of LECC has called around 350 families to date to celebrate their children, and they will continue to call families throughout the remote learning process. Be sure to check out the Tiger Cubs on YouTube. You can still hear them roar. At LEPS, the teachers have been working hard to build new routines and structures while providing remote learning opportunities for students. They've been working collaboratively in-house and with colleagues from other buildings to refine and improve their work. Recently, they started to transition into new learning tied directly to the standards they traditionally cover in the spring. They've been working hard to better understand how students and families are interacting with their remote instruction and practice activities. They've collected more feedback in order to understand and improve as they continue to plan, refine, and create pathways for their young Tigers. That survey information is that nearly 90% of families shared the amount of work for their Tigers was just right. 90% shared the assistance needed for their child to complete remote learning tasks was either manageable, less assistance than usual, or their child completed assignments independently. 99% felt that teachers were readily accessible to answer questions and provide needed support. 97% felt like the communication was just right. LPS is committed to supporting all families and to create personalized learning plans as needed for any students who didn't agree with the just right amount of work or for students who required more assistance than what was manageable for the family. Upcoming events at LPS include drive-through pickup for families on May 4th and May 5th. At LES, they could not be more proud of the work their teachers are doing during this unprecedented time in their world. When asked to recreate their teaching in a completely new way, they absolutely rose to the challenge. During this time of distance learning, LES has worked hard to create some normalcy for students and families. One way they're doing that is by recording their morning announcements and sending them each day to the students. LES students are also submitting jokes to Mrs. Foran to have read each day, and they are providing a counselor message once a week. Birthdays are being announced, and they are also saying the Pledge of Allegiance each day with a celebrity guest announcer. LES also implemented a classroom-level survey to gain insight and feedback for the continuation of distance learning and to guide teachers in their instructional planning. In third grade, when asked if they think the work each day was easy to access and understand, 98% of third grade students said yes, and 98.2% of fourth grade students also said yes. For the second question, was your child able to complete work with limited support? 48% said yes in the third grade and 58% said yes in the fourth grade. When asked the third question, was the amount of work just right? 86% answered yes in third grade and 88% answered just right in fourth grade. That is all.
That's all. Thank you very much, Keller and Anna. It was nice to have you come and give your reports to us this time. Are there any comments or questions from board members?
There's a lot that's still going on, that's for sure. So thank you for your reports.
Yes, thank you. I did notice that about the only thing we can't do virtually is the locker clean out. So we seem to be doing quite a bit virtually. In my household, in my grader household, there's a kindergartner, a 7th grader, and a 9th grader. And I can just tell you that the virtual learning involves a lot more bouncing and jumping for the kindergartner than for the 7th grader and the 9th grader. So it's kind of fun to see. Anything else?
The morning announcements have been very, very impressive each day, and the highlight, I don't know who Miss Warren is hanging out with, but she seems to know all sorts of NFL players. Cool.
Great.
She is far for the other principals, I know. She's had Marty Brenneman, yeah, all kinds of famous people. Before we end our students' reports, I would like to say that we do have a 2020 graduate here with us tonight. Keller is part of our graduating class, and normally we would be thanking Anna and Keller, for their service and shaking their hands and have some gifts for you. But right now it's a hey. So we'll do that formally. But we definitely want to say thank you to both. In particular, thank you and congratulations to Keller for her year of service and for graduation.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Keller, where are you off to?
I'm going to Ohio State.
Congratulations. To study
Journalism.
journalism. Oh, excellent.
Or student literature or children's literature. That would be fun.
Very good. Some would say that those two are the same right now.
Keller and a partner participated in a Teacher Prep Academy contest in Columbus, and she and her partner's children's literature about service dogs and therapy dogs in schools, or in multiple places, but in schools, was fabulous. So I like to brag on her literature skills.
Cool.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you both very much. I will let you know if you, as we usually do, if you don't stay for the rest of the meeting, that is fine. You can find us on YouTube if you leave this portion of the meeting. But thank you, as Dr. Krause said, thank you so much for your service for us.
It's good to see your faces.
All right, I think then we move on in our agenda to discussion topics, and we start with superintendent updates. Dr. Krause.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. I would like to go back to the beginning of the meeting and appreciate you sharing about the test video. And I too would like to apologize for my tone and some of my word choice that could easily be construed as disrespectful. And I understand, particularly as a role model and one who leads students, to be held to a higher standard, and I am embarrassed by that, and I apologize for that. But like with our children, we talk about being reflective and owning your behavior and saying you're sorry, and that's part of life and making mistakes and making amends and moving forward. So while that behavior was certainly not role model behavior, I hope that my apology and acknowledgement does demonstrate that we all do make mistakes. So with that, I'll move on to my discussion topics. The first one I would like to address is the failure of the March levy, which is March, May. Certainly that was a disappointing result. I want to make sure that I personally thank all of the volunteers who worked on the campaign and supported us as we tried to make that need understood. Their support and work was amazing, and I greatly appreciate that personally. But clearly we have additional work to do here in the district to be better partners in our community and financially. So we will start to implement the cuts that we identified back when I think in February is when we posted those. We will start implementing those cuts, started doing that work yesterday and today. We'll have resolutions for the board at the next meeting. We'll continue to work on expenditures, reducing expenditures in the budget. Of course, our primary concern right now is adjusting to world in the pandemic. So those are all big things that we need to work on, and we will do those things. So I stay committed to the work that we have, committed to the programs and to what we deliver to students, but committed to make that work in this community. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Well, I have more of, I guess, a comment than a question, which is, certainly we identified these cuts months ago that would be necessary with the failure of the levy. And my, I guess, comment, question, concern is it is certainly a different world today than it was a few months ago, and the outlook into next year, into the 2021 school year is different. And so are we kind of re-checkpointing our cuts and expenditures in light of that to make sure that these still are in line with anything that might change, because of that? Just asking that, that question, are we finding that, things may need to be tweaked in other areas?
Certainly, because we're not exactly sure how next year will look, it's hard to predict too much. I think what we are trying to do is make sure that we remain flexible, to make sure that we maintain the staff in some capacity that can help us be responsive to changing, to being remote, to making sure that we'll be able to keep the buildings clean and safe, assuming we're able to come back into the buildings at some point. So I think that, and maybe I'm not answering your question, but I think that what we're trying to do is how do we make sure that we have the people that can do multiple things and be flexible to adjust to whatever comes our way next fall.
So, yeah, I think that that's addressing it. I just didn't know if there was anything, formal, or if anyone else had comments on, do we think there needs to be any kind of relook at anything in terms of what was identified currently? Just does it make a difference in where we are accommodating, remote learning or even kind of hybrid learning?
We certainly talked as an administrative team. We felt like it was important to make the cuts that had been identified. We worked with the principals to make sure those still made sense moving forward and have those conversations. Of course, within decision making moving forward, if somebody's role needed to be switched from one thing to another in order to accommodate that, we would need to look at that. The conversations we've had in preparation of preparing for what we don't know is how can we do those things cost neutrally, so that we wouldn't be adding additional staff, we would be reallocating to serve those needs. And we feel like that the cuts that were identified and movement forward on that still allows us that flexibility to do that should we need to in the fall.
Anything else?
Okay, I'll go on to team successes, which as I'm looking at my list and I'm like, check. Anna and Keller pretty much covered my report with all the things that have been going on, including the learning activities and the celebration activities that they set, that the girls shared. Food service continues to serve meals in partnership with Nest, and they're approaching 30,000 meals at this point for what they've been able to do with their volunteer and with our food service staff. Next week, the tech team is ready to launch a repair exchange opportunity or service. That they've got that worked out with no contact and put their safety protocols in place for handling materials from one another, and masks that got all set up in the front lobby. So they'll be ready to implement some additional support for families if they have need tech support. And on Tuesday, we did have Hazel Cole Kendall Day in the district. Hazel on Tuesday celebrated her 100th birthday, and as far as the family can tell, and we've certainly not heard any different, Hazel is the oldest living Loveland High School graduate. She graduated from Loveland High School in 1938. I wasn't able to find a 1938. Between the high school and in our archives, we have all kinds of yearbooks. And I found her freshman yearbook. I found a picture of her in her freshman class in 1935, and 36, 37, 38, nowhere to be found. We pick them back up at 39, but unfortunately we didn't have those, so I couldn't share those with the family. But it was fun to have that virtual celebration for her. The teams have worked really hard. We get a lot of emails and suggestions about how we can recognize our graduates, which is, the highest priority at the high school. But the celebrations and fun things that are going on to connect kids and teachers and families across the district has just been fun to watch. There's the things that teachers are doing, but the number of parades that are going through and giving virtual birthdays and staying connected in that way. It's been fun to be a part of that and watch that happen with our classroom teachers. We work best when we get the energy of the little people with us, and so it's hard when we speak out into the universe and we don't know what kind of reaction we're getting from the kids. You can't see their eyes, you can't see the spark light up, and those are the things that feed us. So it's been fun to watch everybody learn and work together. Lots to celebrate. And next week is Write to Read Week. So I'm sure there'll be activities going on with classrooms, but it's also Teacher Appreciation Week. That's a week where typically our parent-teacher organizations and our administrators try to do nice things for the teachers. Make sure they get chocolate delivered to their door or nice cards from their families and from their colleagues. So it's a little more challenging to do that virtually. So I do encourage everyone to next week, especially send your teacher a note. Have your child draw a picture, or if you're an older child, write a note to your teacher and appreciate how hard that was to do the work. But they're also sad too. As hard as it was for you to walk away and miss the end of the year, that's how teachers are feeling too. So if you get a chance, appreciate your teacher next week. That'd be great. We can appreciate Mrs. Washburn, who is currently a teacher, so she can celebrate that too.
Thank you.
As we do wrap up the year, and Keller and Anna talked about a lot of these things too, we have implemented a way for people to come pick up their stuff, students to get the rest of their things out of the building, and we'll be doing a drive-through. We're gathering those things up, tagging them, and put those in people's trucks when they come through, and we get that schedule out to people. Some principals have sent that schedule out. The other ones are finishing that up. We put plans in place, and we have to get approval to make sure that they're meeting all those guidelines. So sometimes we make decisions and then have to back off on those as we continue to learn more about the virus and people adjust the protocols. We're trying to keep up with that. The hope is that by getting some of the student supplies out and teacher classrooms cleaned up, that's going to give maintenance and cleaning staff a head start on summer. So they're hoping to get classrooms cleaned much earlier than they would have normally, so that this summer they can do some major projects. Waxing the floors. There are things that are really challenging to get done in the hot months because of the wax. And there's also challenges of getting things done. Waxing takes a long time. By the time you do the different layers, teachers are always anxious to be in the classrooms and around. So we have to keep people out during that time. We really feel like this is going to be a time for a good deep clean and some chance to get some repairs done that have to be done in a hurry, often in the summer in short blocks of time. So that'll be a silver lining and a great way to do some cleanup, so spring cleaning in our facilities. So that'll is what they'll be doing. And we're working on protocols to transition back into our offices. So the governor has posted the protocols for behavior in an office. The school districts, there's lots of people working in the school district as essential personnel. So we will need to implement the current guidance to make sure that what they're currently doing meets the guidance. One of the other slowdowns we have in that is, making sure that people have enough access to their own cleaning supplies to clean their own workspace. We'll of course clean every night, but one of the protocols is to make sure that the employee themselves has the opportunity to clean multiple times during the day. And it is, I was telling teachers today that as odd as it felt when everything closed down and we all had to leave and pack up our things, and there were those few days that it seemed surreal, and now we're getting into a rhythm. The coming back into is also feeling that way and remembering to wear the mask, and it's awkward, and socially it's just going to take some time to get used to, and walking in and distancing. It'll take a while to just adjust, when people get back. And as we're working on those protocols in our office, we want to be able to roll out a schedule of this is when the offices will be open. Once we can make sure that we can put all those procedures in place. Does anyone have any questions about how we're closing up the year or reopening the board offices?
So I do, because it's question time for me tonight, apparently. So the high school did send out guidance, I know, on locker clean out, pick up and book return. However, a couple things it didn't mention were tech turn-in. So if you have Chromebooks, when do you do that? Because as an example, seniors, their book turn-in is May the 8th, which is before the end of their actual school year, which is May the 15th, as well as I know a lot of those students then have online AP tests to take that they may need those devices for. So I don't know if there's another communication that will come out in general about tech. And then just another kind of question in general is, when do student accounts, for example, their Gmail accounts, especially I know for seniors, this is important, having experienced this before, where they were unaware of when their accounts would be disabled, and they may have had things, they may have had Adobe licenses that were, because they're school provided, so they have files that are saved under certain things, or Gmail files that they want access to, and once they graduate and their accounts are gone, their accounts are gone. So I think that's an important thing certainly to notify as well, but I don't know if there's timing on either one of those items yet.
I can't speak to the email. I'm sure that David can. I will tell you that yes, there'll be further communication. We're trying to combine trips with any things we need to get back from the seniors with cap and gown collection. So we're trying to be efficient and combine some trips on that. So further communication will come on that.
So cap and gown is also, I think, is May the 13th, which is, again, before a lot of the AP stuff, so, yeah.
I'll make sure Peggy knows. I know Peggy's watching right now, so.
Yeah.
Note that, Peggy. We'll make sure she does. David, do you want to address the Gmail?
Yeah, so typically Gmail, as with the rest of the Google account information, Google Drive and all of that, is typically turned off at the end of the full school year. So first part of June typically is when those emails typically deactivate. And typically through the end of the school year also, communication goes out with regards to Google Takeout, which is basically how all that information within the Google account would be released. And then as far as the Adobe accounts and those types of things, the same is true with those things as well, as those all go back through the Google account for single sign-on purposes. So that should be coming out soon. We'll do the Chromebooks as seniors are returning the rest of their things. Will also return their devices if that's what they're doing with them, and that'll all kind of be lock in step with the rest of that process.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure for seniors, because it's different this year, a lot of them are taking AP classes, which are happening towards the end of May after a lot of this, and it might be their tech device now that they need to take the online AP.
Yeah. Well, I think that, as Amy was alluding to earlier, it's all about flexibility with things this spring, right? So as students need those machines longer, they're absolutely able to hold on to that. If it's more convenient for the family to return it at the same time as returning everything else, that's encouraged. But if they need to hold on to it for a few weeks for AP testing or for other matters, that's also more than fine.
Anything, Ms. Pettit or Mrs. Washburn?
I'm good.
Okay,
You know, as the year wraps up, it's sad for the students and teachers, but it can just be our hope that we transition into a nice smooth fall. I'm sure at the board office, everybody's just chomping at the bit to safely get back in there and get the work done that needs to be done. So we appreciate everybody doing what they are from home and making it happen.
I suppose at some point you figure that out and you get used to it, but we are creatures of collaboration and each other's energy. So I know people are anxious to be back together. My next topic is planning for summer and beyond. Planning for something that none has ever been done. Not to mention the rules change every day. So educators by nature are planners. So tell us what the rules are, and we'll plan that. We just need to know what the rules are. And so it's especially frustrating for us as we just want to know what the rules are so that we can start to think through options. We really don't have any insight into what might happen over the summer and the fall. I am in contact with youth league leaders in the baseball in particular, wanting to make sure that we work together to get people out as soon as we can and when it's safe. To that end, we a group of us city leaders decided to start to work together regularly and talk about transition. So on Monday, Chief Ray from LPD, Chief Huber from Sinspire, CC Collins from the Chamber, Dave Kennedy and Tom Smith from City Management, Joe Roden, the principal at St. Columban, and Pat Lesher, the business manager in Parish, and John Ames and I met on Monday just to talk about what are the goals, how are we all interpreting the parameters. We certainly want to be able to make sure that things are available from a facility standpoint as they can be. We also want to make sure that people are aware of the things we're doing, like locker clean out and making sure that we're following the guidance and that we have the support of safety. What experts do we have access to, and what experts do they have access to make sure that we move together as a community. I think it's going to be really helpful thing for all of us in the community to just keep touching base. And the Archdiocese often gives a set of rules, and we want to make sure that we're available to our partners at St. Columban to say, well, here's what we're doing with that, just to give them access to some bigger planning. So I just think that collaboration is going to be very helpful as we plan to not plan. So I think we'll be meeting. I think our plan is to touch base every Monday and just walk through that. We watch the governor and hear that guidance. So ultimately, we can all work together and work on that guidance. But ultimately, we and the school district are all the school facilities are governed by the Hamilton County Board of Health. So any interpretation, any questions, any permissions to do things that might be perceived as bumping up on some of those guidelines, we need to get approval from the Board of Health. So to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. We certainly want to have the support of our local safety, and they want to support us. So we don't want to do anything where they have to come in and break it up, and they don't want to do anything that that gets in our way of, they want to support us in making sure that they can do that. So I think that's going to be a good collaboration. I wish we had more clarity about what that would look like, but I do feel I feel more confident because we're so connected to the city and the safety committee, the safety personnel here. So I feel like we're connected with the right people to make those right decisions. Does anyone have any questions that have answers to what might happen, clarifications? Because I don't know what we'll have open as available as facilities, indoor or outdoor. Right now, we don't. So until there's further guidance on that right now, we wouldn't be able to utilize any of our facilities. The community wouldn't be able to.
Questions?
Did I miss an update on graduation? Or do we not have an update on graduation?
Well, segue to the next topic if no one has any other question.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I do try to send an email to all staff every day. I know the board gets that too. Because things change so quickly, it seems almost important to send one every day. So it's just sort of been a habit I've gotten into, just to keep all staff abreast of changes and be able to chunk that away. I try to let staff know how we're thinking about that. I've gotten tons of questions and feedback, and have you thought of this? It's been a great way to open up dialogue that we would normally have. We would walk by a custodian in the hall and say, "Oh, I have this question for you," because you see them. Now, because we don't see people, that email has generated, like, "Have you thought of?" And it's been just a great way to get feedback from staff as we move forward. So trying to really stay in close communication with our staff, even though we're not together, trying to be connected to that. So graduation planning, that's a daily event too. The high school team meets, I think they meet every single day at 8 a.m. They want nothing more than for our seniors and all high school kids, but particularly seniors to feel recognized and supported. The end of year senior activities are rites of passage that can't be replicated. So the team is really committed to to making things as right as they can for kids. We get tons of, it's all over Twitter, all the fun things that are going all over. We appreciate everybody sending those things. I promise you, we look into all of those, and some of them work because of the size of your graduating class. Some people have smaller graduating classes. Some of them work because there's more signposts available in the streets. Some of them, work for different reasons. But we have investigated all of them, and we appreciate people sending those things to us. There were several venues that we worked with to try to make some sort of gathering graduation possible before we got further guidance from the governor. There's Starlight Drive-In Theater out in Amelia. We worked with them. We were hoping to be able to have it there. Coney Island. We tried to work something out with their venues in the area, have just bent over backwards to try to help make things right for kids.
Now we're cooking with gas. Here we are.